We good? Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Cut the Deck with your host Isaiah, and we are here with Coach Stephen Gilbert. How you doing, Coach?
Oh, everything's going, man. Blessed to see another day.
Man, that's great, man. So, so I found you out through your agent, Michael Williams of William Advancement Agency. Great dude. I got a chance to talk to him about what he does. Obviously, he's that liaison between you all and college positions. And so just talk about the impact he had on your career so far.
Man, so far he's been amazing. I got Mike through a friend of mine named Dwayne Joshua, who's the head coach for the Nassau Pride. It's an ABA program that just got started a few years back over in Florida. Mm-hmm. Mike is one of a kind, man. He's like almost, I guess you could say, he builds personal relationships with his clients because he texts me every single day. He sends me jobs. He helps me with my cover letter, my resume, and how to update it and all that stuff and things that I should look forward to saying, different meetings he has with ADs and all that stuff. Man, Mike has been a godsend for me. So I'm hoping that it stays that way. And if there's any potential clients for him, I'm telling you, he's one of a kind.
Definitely. And so now, where basketball started for you, obviously had to be your playing days. Where'd you grow up and where are you from, and how did basketball become a staple in your life?
From Jacksonville, Florida. I didn't start playing until, sir?
Duval?
Yes, sir, all day, every day.
Wow, I got friends from Duval. I'm like, oh my
gosh. It's funny because when I was in college, I knew Duval was a big thing, when I was playing AAU and all that stuff, people used to go around yelling, Duval. I wasn't one of those cats, but when you go to the clubs and all that stuff, that's all people yell every single time when I was playing college ball. And it was so funny because, a lot of people from Dade County didn't like that. So, that's where they had like that clash. But it started when I was in the 6th grade. My stepfather, who was a big impact in my life, introduced me to basketball. My actual biological father played at Jacksonville University. He also played overseas. He was 7 foot tall. So, I was lucky enough to be blessed a little bit with his height at being 6'4". And he taught me the fundamentals and the skills to help me to go play at Weber International, which was a very pivotal point in my life, playing under John Schaffner and meeting so many friends. And right after that, I had to decide, did I want to be a doctor? That's what I got my degree in, is biological science. Or if I wanted to coach, and a friend of mine convinced me, hey, get into coaching. And so that's how I ended up becoming a coach.
Oh, wow. So did you enjoy the whole doctor thing? Or you was like, it's too hard, I want to stay around basketball?
So my mama is a nurse practitioner. So her biggest thing was opening up a clinic together. So she was not happy I became a coach. I worked in the hospital since I was 18, like as a CNA and all that stuff. And I enjoyed it. It's because I'm really good with communication and, interacting with different people. I worked with all kinds of doctors. I worked with all kinds of patients, from those who have different disorders and diseases to those who, just come in for like the minor coughs and colds and all that stuff. And I was able to build tons of relationships that way. But if it all came said and done, if I was to give up coaching, I would actually go back to the medical field because I enjoyed it. I like the biology. I love, my biggest things, which is a lot of people think is weird, is I like broken bones. So when I got to see people come in with dislocated arm pieces and all that stuff, I got to, help pop it back into place and all that kind of stuff. So being a doctor was very big for me. And I would have, if I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't deviate from the coaching path because I got to meet so many people and I just love what I do. I hated the hours for being in the hospital, waking up 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. or sometimes I had to work 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., which means I had to go to bed early and all that kind of stuff. It was exhausting, but the coaching life has just been amazing to me.
Really? So I guess what's the misconception about getting into coaching? Because I think I had a couple of interviews with on different platforms with a couple of Michael's clients, and I think people think you just go until you just go look for a job online. And then, boom, you go get the job. But not knowing the landscape was the biggest thing. So talk about, how'd you know that you needed an agent? I guess, talk about understanding the landscape.
So I didn't know nothing about this agent industry. I won't lie to you. When I got into coaching, which was 10 years ago, I thought I can do it all on my own. I thought I could just go out and, work my way from the ground up. I started off at the middle school level. I started in the AAU circuit, then I worked my way to the high school, and I got to build my name over in Florida and in New Mexico, and I ended up getting my first college job in Kansas. And I didn't have an agent at that time. And then I got to speaking to a lot of different, successful coaches. And they said, hey, man, like if you want to move up in the food chain, you're going to need an agent. And so it's when the job actually posts, when a college job is actually posted, man, some of these places already have who they want in mind. Like they don't waste time. Like they just put it up there because HR says it has to be there. But they already know who they want to hire. And then if that person don't know who they want, they already get 300 applications within the first 2 hours. And I learned that because I was helping out human resources and understanding the different flows of that. So when I was like, man, I was just fortunate enough that I got sorted into the right category and ended up being the head coach at CNCC this past year. And so it's the biggest misconception is that you think you're just going to apply and get a job. It doesn't work that way. You have to know some people. And if you know them, and you might know a connect, for instance, if I know you and you know a coach over in Florida and they're looking for a coach, you can be a reference for me to get a job. Right. And that's what I failed to understand that. I was very naive to that fact. So I'm thinking like, man, my resume speaks volume. I can do this all on my own. But hiring Mike, it made things a lot more easier. So like he tells me the different jobs what they're looking for and how I can get this and that. And still you have to be, even with an agent, you still have to know people. And your agent has to know somebody. He has to have, a foot in the door somewhere for you to end up getting a job. So the misconception is just thinking that if you apply, you're going to get it. It doesn't work that way. Sometimes you might be that one rock in that a million places you throw and end up giving you that job, which would be fortunate. Like when I was going for my first assistant job, I literally applied to every single college in America, and I only got 3 yeses. I sat there for a month and then I sent out a cover letter and a resume and my professional references to every single college, JUCO, D1, D2, and D3. And I only got 3 yeses. And one of them actually, she's no longer at Sneed State, but Sneed State in Alabama. She became a really good friend of mine. And she just told me like the pay was bad and all that stuff, and that you don't want to go that way. Then another one, they told me like, she said, yes, but we don't pay at all. You have to be a volunteer. And the last one I got at Neosho, he gave me $19,000, and I was able to just help, build that program into what it is today. And so if I'm you, if you want to get a job in this industry, you have to network. You have to know people, and you have to know people that know people. And it's not all about them knowing you knowing them. It's about who knows you and how you.
Yeah, because I think people get that misconception. Whether it be in recruiting, like remember the old saying, if you're good enough, they'll find you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so what I did was, out of all my friends, I think I played maybe 7 varsity games my entire high school career, and I was the only one to go to the next level and play. Even though it was Division II walk-on spot, I was the only one to go. Everybody else played varsity, all county, all this, but their parents used to say, yeah, if you're good enough, they'll find you. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna go put myself in a position to win. And then everybody who made everybody had these big school dreams, 9th grade, 10th grade. And as we started to get closer, I was the only one to slip through the cracks and still go because I understood the landscape and had a network. And I thought that was really important. And so now I want to translate that. And I want to do other people see that too, because it's not just about put the product out and let people find it, because there's a million things to look at, So, and so now, the coaching, what were your tenures at? What were some of your biggest coaching tenures at? What places did you coach at? Like I know we talked privately where you're currently going, but
I coached in Florida at a high school. I started off my longest tenure was coaching AAU. A friend of mine named Daryl Hart and Leland Loper. We were together for a long time. I think I was like 20 years old when we joined together, and they built this program called One Family from the ground up. They have a kid that's going to the league now. His name's Kai. He's played for the University of Texas. They got a kid in the NBA now who plays for the Portland Trail Blazers named Nassar. And so you see like all the dividends, what the work they put in and it all started when all 3 of us just got together, put together a program.
So you coach those guys?
And then No, so I left. I was gone about time they like when NAS became into that category. I was already leaving. I got my first high school job, and I started focusing on more about my success, and they stuck with it. And I still talk to them guys to this day. They're doing an amazing job still. Daryl's one of the most renowned trainers in Orlando, and Lee's one of the most renowned trainers in Daytona, and they still have the one family group together. It used to be called Showtime Hoops, and that was when I was there. And that was when they had this guy named Brad Augustine, and it was just a big program. I coached this guy named Tyree Crump, who's going across seas now, and he is
at Georgia, right?
At Georgia, yeah, he was from Georgia.
Wait, really? You coached him?
Yeah, I was a part of that group that coached him.
Wow. And so the guy in Orlando, one family, that's your man's?
That's my guy.
Whoa, small world.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard of them before. They're pretty prominent.
Yeah. They're doing an amazing job. And we had that. We had a kid named Stace. We had just tons of kids. Nick, who just signed an agent to go play. We got all these kids, and I was there when they all started. And Maurice, who just signed an agent, who played at Alcorn State. Like, we had produced so many athletes. And then it went from that to they just built this phenomenal program. So I went from that to becoming a high school coach at South and over on the beach in Florida, which was amazing. I was shocked they took the opportunity on me. And I was able to turn that program around. Then I moved to New Mexico, started coaching women's, and I led 2 prominent programs. And the next thing you know, boom, I got the job over in Kansas at Neosho County. I was there for 1 year, and we went 15-15, which is the most wins he's had since he's been there. We won a playoff game, which shocked a lot of people. We upset this team at their place. Then I got this job at CNCC. They won 3 games in 2 years. In the past 2 years, we won 4 this year. And then I end up stepping away to deal with a family issue. So the guy that's there now, Eric Benedict, is doing an amazing job, and he's helping, continue the trend of trying to build that program. They're actually about to play in the next hour. I'm going to sit and watch the game. Even though I'm no longer the head coach, I still root for him from the end. And now, now the family issue's done and everything's situated and we got everything back in order, I just been applying for different positions. Like I said, it's not easy. No matter, I was a head coach, and I'm still struggling to get a job now. And I have a very prominent resume, and still, if it wasn't for Mike, I probably still would be struggling to this day. But I've had a couple of interviews, and it's been going great so far.
Right. So as a head coach, I hear that you don't really deal with the basketball side. Is that true?
Oh, man, as the head coach, you deal with a lot of things outside of basketball.
Like what?
You got to make budgets right. You got to make sure if you're one of those big people that deals with the community, you got to make sure you do things in the community around the clock. There's a lot of admin work. I want to say it's about 70% admin, 30% basketball. As the assistant coach, like when I had EB, he basically did 90% basketball, 10% admin. Right? Because as the assistant, you got to tell him what you need, how to take care of it, and do all this, and you push it in his direction. But you have to make sure you got all the recruits on board. You got to make sure your budget's right. You got to make sure the buses are there, the kids getting food, they're eating, they're going to class, grades. So it's a lot of admin work. You sit at the desk and you do a lot of different things. And I learned that because when I was at Neosho, I was doing that already as an assistant. So it helped me translate it over to be a head coach.
Right, definitely. So would you rather be assistant or head to deal with the most basketball?
Oh, man. I think I love to be a head coach. And the reason is, the only person you got to deal with is the AD. And you get to make your strategies, and you get to do all this, and you win the game, you was prepared, and you prepared your kids the right way. You lose a game, it's on you. You didn't prepare them the right way. As an assistant, it's not too much pressure, though. I enjoy being an assistant, because it wasn't that much pressure. I could say, all right, I did my skill work individuals. I made sure that I built the plan for us to win the game. Now the head coach has got to make sure he implements it, or he does what he wants to do with it and go from there. But I like being the head coach just because of the fact that, a lot is more pressure on you compared to when you're an assistant. So
I got to ask this question. As a head coach, at what point does the AD start looking like, what's going on? Because that seat can get hot like that.
Quick.
Things can also go well, but I know once you start losing games, at what point is the AD like, so what's up? When does that come, and how does that conversation usually go? Because I don't think it's like, yo, what's up? But like, do they try to ease into it? Like, what's that process?
So it all depends. Like if you go to a school that's all about basketball, right? A school that says, hey, you got to come in here. We want these things to happen in this amount of time. Then you'll feel that seat get hot real quick. You can go to some schools that don't mind. Like as long as the games are competitive and you are showing that the program's progressing, they give you a lot. They give you a lot more time. And you can go to some schools that just really don't care. As long as they get the student athletes are living up to the grades and expectation of the town and all that stuff, you can lose every single game and you'll still be fine. So it all depends on the school that you went to. Like when we was at Neosho, we didn't have a hot seat. You know, we started off bad though. I will not lie. Like we started off 5-2, then we lost 8 straight. Then I was like, I'm panicking. Like there's no way I'm going to get a job. You know, I'm going to do this and that. You know, and the next thing you know, we went on this hot winning streak. But the seat was never hot because Jay was just such a big influence in the community. And then when I was at CNCC, you know, we started off 2-1, and I believe we lost like the next 3 before we won the next 2. And the seat was never hot because the community, it was just so lovely. And every single person would come to the AD and be like, hey, this guy that you hired, man, it's more competitive than it was in the last 6 years. And so I used to always be like, well, we lost. I don't know why they keep saying all this positivity. But then as I got to sit back and watch the games, I'm like, now I understand why. Because we wasn't getting our head beat in by 30 or 40. We're losing by 10, 15 points, or we're winning. And so that's what they wanted, was to make the environment more competitive. And that's what happened. But I've watched coaches like take a job and then lose the job the next year because they came in with an expectation is you're supposed to come in and win 15 or 20, or you're supposed to come in and win the conference, and you didn't do that. So do you feel that pressure? And you know I didn't do it. You know you're gonna be looking for the job the next season.
So is it game by game? Like, so you could win 10, but if you lose the next 6, they start asking what's up. Like, is it in bunches or is it game by game?
So it's basically in bunches. So they come in, they look at it, and they say, hey, all right, you lost 3 in a row. What are you going to do to make the adjustments? And that's when, you know, the ADs who are really big into the sports, they come and watch the game, you know, and they were like, all right, how are the kids responding to this guy or this lady? How are they acting? You know, what's going on in the game management and what's going on here and there? And then they come watch practices and stuff. Like I've literally watched some coaches lose their job over that kind of stuff. And I'd be like, man, just happy I've never had to deal with that situation.
Wow. So I see why y'all so in recruiting. You trying to make sure this kid is, even as a basketball player, grades, because I think you all have to hit a certain GPA, correct?
Yes.
Okay, it's more than what I thought. Now I see how hard coaching is.
And it's crazy because like you can come in and you can have a good program, but still lose your job. And it's not you losing your job over basketball. You're losing your job over the admin part. You may have went over budget. You may have kids just flunking out or not keeping the right amount of kids at the school and all that kind of stuff. Like there are tons of ways that, you know, that can change your life in this basketball industry. You never think about that. You think about, all right, if I come in and I win the conference, they're going to keep me. No, it's not just like that. You have to make sure you cover everything on the admin basis too. You know, like if the admin says, hey, we want you to have 18 kids here and have this amount of people graduate, and say 6 kids like, I don't like this program, I'm out of here. They look at that kind of stuff. You know, if you go over budget by $1,000, $2,000, they're gonna question it. And then
what's going over budget? Like on the road eating or something?
Like, so you get an overall, let's say like when I was at CNCC, our budget was $27,000, right? You got to clock in miles and travel. That goes in the budget. What you eat, that goes in the budget. Yeah. Recruiting, that go in the budget. Hotels, when you decide to stay the night to go get ready for a team, that all hits the budget. Yeah. And so if you make any mistakes down there, then you can lose your job just in the snap of a finger.
And usually, is it the director of basketball operations who sort of serves that liaison to handle the travel, the food,
Mm-hmm. And they do all like the hosting of the basketball camp, so you can bring in money and not have to too much worry about going over the budget. So the money you brought in, you just add it to it. Some people like, you know, these football teams that these low-level D1s or these mid-major D1s that play these high programs, they making like $3,000-$4,000 just to go play a top notch, and it goes back into the program, and that just helps them stay under the budget, which is smart. And like Georgia State upset, I think it was Tennessee 2 years ago, and I want to say they made $2 million going to knock off Tennessee. You know, and that helped. And it doesn't just go to basketball. It doesn't just go to the football program. It goes to every program that they want to issue out to. But it also, the bigger amount goes to the program that actually did it. That's why some of these majors schedule these high-ranked programs. I watched Carver College this past year play nothing but D1 and D2. They was getting their head banged in, but they were making money. Like they're making 100,000 a game. So and they 10, 11 games, and they're losing. They start off 0-11.
They don't care. But coach know, hey, when we get to conference, we can win conference, but let's get this.
Yep. That's what it's all about sometimes. People make sacrifice.
So you playing a game within the game.
Mm-hmm.
Dang, how fun is that? Gotta be fun. Like, yo, like we might get 30 piece, but yo, like I ain't gonna get fired. Yo, like that gotta be like a drill. Like, yo, like listen, if we can knock these dudes off and take their money, okay, now I'm starting to see the fun in it. Okay, that's crazy. Mm-hmm. So tell me a story like that. Were you ever like, yo, we might get 30 piece, but we're gonna get this money and we out? Like,
so when we was played in this tournament against West Nebraska, which we had to end up backing out because of the COVID issue. I knew West Nebraska at the time was ranked number 10 in the country. I knew, like, all right, maybe we're not ready for this caliber. We might get 40 piece, but they're giving us 3 bands and paying for our hotel to come play. I asked my assistant, like, is it worth it? He's like, yes.
3,000 or like 300,000?
They only give, like, JUCOs don't make that kind of money.
My bad, I'm too.
We were making that kind of money. I'm telling you, I'm playing every tournament. I don't care how many games we lost. I'm like, we just go prepare for conference. Let's go get our head banged at 300,000. I'd have never went over budget. We the 8-state every night.
Okay, bet.
But they gave us three. They was gonna give us $3,000 and pay for us to eat and pay for our hotel rooms. And we was down the street basically. And I was like, man, is it worth it? And we talked about it. And he's like, yeah, like we might as well get ready for that caliber. And we played a team that was number 13 in the country at Salt Lake Community College, who's ran by Marcelina Gray, who's an amazing coach. And we lost to them by 8. And it's the small things that prepare you for that. Because we played top-notch opponents, and they paid us to come play. And so when we got playing Salt Lake and we lost to them by 8, we were down 3 with 20 seconds to go. And everybody in the stands was shocked. Like, how in the world are they? Because they haven't beat this team in like 5 or 6 years. Mm-hmm. So they was all like, and they're used to getting 40, 50 piece 3 times every single season for the last 5 seasons, getting 30 or 40 piece. We're down 3. And even me, I was shocked. I'm like, we're shooting the ball pretty well. Okay, that's nice. And we had a chance to tie the game up and we missed it. So we had to play the foul game. We ended up losing by 8. But it's just that kind of thing that prepare you. You know, no matter who your opponent is, if you play somebody that you know you're not going to beat, but it prepares you for that conference, because non-conference really don't count. Some of these schools schedule like the smaller schools to keep their percentage up. ADs don't look at who you play; they look at how many wins you got. So if you walk out of 75 over 75, you're good. You're like, all right. You know, if you walk out with an 800 record, they're like, oh man, everything's rocking and rolling like I want. They're not looking at, all right, they played Carver College 20 times. They're looking at, oh my God, they started off the season 20-0.
Whoa. So it's a lot of things you're dealing with. You got to get the wins and losses. You got to make sure the grades is right. You got to make sure there's a low level of attrition. Well, I guess you keep attrition, like you keep people there, retention. Mm-hmm. I think I said budget, but then also the percentage too. Yo, coaching is hard.
Yes, it ain't no joke.
Yeah, so back to the JUCO, more basketball stuff. I'm gonna get back to the basketball. I think we touched the business side, now let's stay basketball. As a JUCO coach, how do you get guys to that next level? And has there ever been a situation where people on the outside like, yo, you can't get kids to the next level, but it's kind of like there was some other things going on, whether the kids didn't get the grades. So like that was a loaded question, but I guess like how do you actually get kids to that next level? Because that's important.
So for us, the best thing about going JUCO, like everybody has this nonsense that say that, you go to JUCO, your career dies. That's a lie. If you see in the national tournament now, in the NCAA tournament, there are 17 kids that played at the JUCO level now playing in the NCAA tournament in the Sweet 16, which is amazing. Right. And so for what you have to do is, one, you have to play quality opponents. Second, you have to make sure you record every game. and you have to make highlights, and you have to send them to different colleges. And now they got this program called Synergy. So when you upload it to Synergy, all you have to do is make the highlights, send it to the college, and they be like, hey, can I see the full game? Boom, all D1 see it already. They just pull up the kid's name, and then they can watch the game right then and there. So it's kind of easy. Just like a lot of kids that want to go play college ball, you know, like I said, if you got a good coach who is all about marketing, all he got to do is get your footage in the right hands, and you can go play anywhere. I can promise you that. Like, you're not going to go play this top notch or whatever, but you're going to go play college ball like you've always dreamed. The best thing, like when I was at Neosho, we had a girl go play Division I. She played right in her hometown over at SCLA. You know, in Southeastern Louisiana, we had two girls go Division II. One went in Arkansas, who was like 2 minutes from my house in Texas, and another girl is from Oklahoma. She's playing in a school in Oklahoma. I got a girl that was and when I was at CNCC, that played at Grand Canyon University from California. All we had to do is just say, hey, if you come and play and you produce, we're going to get you back Division I, which is that opportunity, you know. And we had a lot of kids that transferred in that went D2 and NAIA as well. But the only way that kids prevent themselves from moving on in this JUCO level is if the coach is not putting their name out there, which they know that's their job. If you put another kid out, you get more kids to come play for you. If a kid recognizes like this school's not sending you nowhere, they're not going to come play for you. And so if you do all that's small things, like if you recruit them and you help them, promote them, and get them out there, you'll get more kids come play for you.
Definitely. Wow, that's why I didn't even expect us to have this conversation. I thought it was going to be kind of textbook, but that's crazy. I found out a lot. That's wild. So I guess any advice to getting into coaching from anybody like who wants to coach? What's the best?
The biggest advice I can tell you, and this is one thing that I had to learn as well, is, you know, don't let nobody crush your dream. You know, if you say you're going to do it, go do it. If somebody's laugh at you, I've been laughed at countless times.
Okay, let's go there. Talk about that. Because I'm sure when you got out of college, people were like, okay, go just be this engineer, go do something, you know, something like that. But you said, no, I'm going to be a coach, and I'm sure people know the pathway. So let's go there. Talk about like the doubters and then still going that way.
So when I got into it, you know, a lot of, like, my mom, huge, beautiful woman who didn't believe in me at first, you know, a lot of my family members told me I was making a decision that coaches don't make money, which is true. That coaches, your job's gonna be up in the air, you know, which makes some people work harder. But the people that doubt you, you're gonna run into those people. You're gonna run into. I have, you know, friends that's coaching Division I who wouldn't even like bend over backwards to help me find another job, you know. And those are people I like graduated with, I grew up with, and in this world, it's a dog eat dog world. So I feel like the reason they did that is because they like, I built my avenue in, you need to build your own. I don't want, you know, I can't help you. If I can't, I can help myself. If something bad happened, I can contact this person. But if I need a job and I'm helping you out, it's not going to help me. I see that, you know, I see that. I went to the Final Four in Tampa like 2 years ago. And I ran into a lot of people I knew, and I'm like, hey man, you know, coach, help me introduce to this person or this person. They're like, no man, you got to go do it yourself, or they don't talk to you and stuff. And I'm like, wow, man, that's crazy. But then I'm that guy, you know, people hit me up and say, hey, you know, how can you help me? I made a promise to myself, like I'll never be that person that if I make it, I'm going to be like, look down on other people. Like I get messages on Facebook all the time or on Instagram and Twitter asking me advice and all this. And I try my best to reach back out to every single person. And I'm not saying a lot of coaches don't do that. I ran into tons of big time professionals, like my friend that coaches at Wichita State. His name's Chester. He's an assistant. He talked to me every day. I reached out to him out of nowhere. He could have been one of those people like, hey, I'm too busy. Or my friend that's coaching, his name Coach Solo at Oral Roberts right now. Like I'm rooting for them boys today. Yeah, Solo, I messaged him out of nowhere. I emailed him. And then he tried to get me a GA job. Didn't even know who I was. You run into those people that are willing to bend over backwards to help you because they also understand, like, if you get a job and I might be looking for one, then you can bring me on. But then you got those who, it's about who you know.
Yeah.
And you got those folks that just, you know, I'm already here. I don't need this person or this. And they try to look for themselves. So you run into those doubters and those haters, but then you run into those people that believe in you so much that they're willing to help you. Like Coach Chester, we talk basketball all the time over at Wichita State. Coach Solo, like I text him like, hey man, what's going on, man? Good luck with ORU. You know, congratulations on this, man. Make sure you show me the ring when since y'all won conference this year, all that kind of stuff. And he texts back immediately, you know. And, you know, but other than that, just dream. And I dream every single day. Don't get it wrong. Like I dream that I'm going to be coaching at the top stage, win a national title. I see myself walking it. And I see myself, you know, just thanking everybody who was always there and supporting. And I tell people this dream just so people can hear my thoughts and they laugh and they're like, "You're stupid. It's not gonna happen." Let them feel you, but don't do it to prove them wrong. Do it to show them that you belong. That's what I believe in.
Wait, so, like, I know you got like a gritty story. Like, did you tell somebody you was gonna coach and they was like, "Ha ha"? Like, what are you talking about? Like, I know you got something. Like, that's what I yearn for. You know, that's what I like. But now you're doing it. You're doing what you set out to do. So that was tough. That's crazy. I mean, now you are where you are. So how do things turn? Like when the table, now you're here. Like, what's the reaction now? Like, I always knew you could.
So now, after when you get there, everybody that doubted you, they're the ones that be like, "Man, I believed you all along." When I got my head coach job at CNCC, I want to say, man, I got about 600-700 text messages and emails and people asking if I'm looking for an assistant. And it was some people that even told me that I even like asked them like, "Hey, I promise you I will work my butt off if you give me a job, you know, help me out." The same people that didn't, you know, give me the time of day, those be the same people that reach out to you. And they might need a job, or they might, you know, just say thank you, or I mean, they might just say, "Hey, you know, I always knew you can do it," and all that kind of stuff. And you can be that person that can be like, man, forget them, man, look out for me. Or you can be that person, just be the bigger person. That's how I am, the bigger person. I'll be like, "Oh, appreciate it, thank you so much, you know, good luck to you this season." They'll be like, or those same people that lost their job looking for a job and they downplayed you, just be like, "Hey, you know, we'll see how it goes. I'm not gonna lie, keep your name in the hat, but see what you have to go through HR and all that stuff." But you run into those problems, man. And like I said, you gotta be the bigger person at times.
That's definitely. Yo, Coach Gilbert, this was amazing. I didn't expect this to go this way. I thought it was gonna be textbook. Like, so why would you start? You know what I'm saying? You know, appreciate you for coming on the platform. This will be uploaded Saturday now. It's sometime this week, once I get the editing things. But appreciate you. It's a small platform, but it's something that's growing. And hopefully one day we looking back on this, you coaching at the top Division I school, and like, wow, I got a chance to bring him on the show. So
I was excited. I'm not gonna lie. When Mike told me about it, and he was like, "Hey, I want you to be on this podcast," I was like, "Man, I'm gonna be on a podcast? That sounds great." Really? You know, these things, I love doing these things because of the fact that I just like telling stories and talking and getting to know more people. And, you know, I want to be that person that look back at it and be like, "Man, I remember I was on this podcast, man. Look at this podcast. You know, me and my guys started together. And when you make it big time, you can be like, man, I can say, you remember we had this whole talk, you know, I was sitting there in a nice little blue thing. We had a good conversation." Yeah. I like this kind of thing. Really appreciate you, man. I really do.
Appreciate you, man. Well, Coach, I'm going to let you go, man. You have a good day.
You do the same.